You think explaining yourself makes you look innocent, that if you just clarify enough, they'll understand. That truth will win. But Machiavelli knew, the second you defend yourself, you've already lost. Because defense implies weakness. It signals guilt, even where there is none. And the people watching? They don't hear your truth, they see your fear. In their eyes, if you had power, you wouldn't need to explain. It's a fatal instinct. This urge to be understood, to protect your reputation, to clean up your image. But in the game of power, reputation isn't protected by words. It's protected by control. And control begins where defense ends. Machiavelli didn't say, prove them wrong. He said, let them speak and stay above it. Because in every room, every conflict, every judgment, the one who reacts first submits. But the one who holds still, the one who stays silent, that's the one they start to fear. In the realm of power, truth is irrelevant. What matters is perception. And perception belongs not to the one who speaks, but to the one who controls the frame. When you explain, you place yourself beneath judgment. You accept the role of the accused. Even if you're right, you've already agreed to their terms. And once you're in their frame, you play their game. You chase credibility. You defend your name. You bleed status, word by word. But Machiavelli understood, people don't follow the most honest man. They follow the one who appears untouchable, the one who doesn't plead for understanding, because power doesn't beg. It declares, or it remains silent. The moment you explain, you signal that their opinion has power. And the more you speak, the more you teach them how to hurt you. You give away your center, just to protect an image that only feels real when others believe it. But power isn't about being right. It's about being beyond reach. Not through arrogance, but through stillness. Through control. Through knowing that not needing to be understood is the highest form of strength. There is a rule in power few dare to follow, because it defies everything we've been conditioned to believe. Never flinch. Never explain. Not because you have nothing to say, but because they don't deserve to hear it. Machiavelli understood this deeply, that to stay in control, you must master the art of not reacting. You must appear unshaken, even when they come for your name, your character, your past. Because the moment you flinch, you tell the world they've struck something real. Your silence, when chosen, becomes armor. It turns accusation into noise. It forces the attacker to keep swinging in the dark, revealing their desperation with every word. You become the immovable object, the calm storm, the enigma they can't decode. And here's the truth Machiavelli whispered, the truth most won't say aloud. The people don't trust the loudest man in the room. They trust the one who doesn't need to explain why he holds the throne. He just does. So let them guess. Let them invent. Let them talk. Because when you say nothing, when you don't flinch, don't defend, don't shrink, they will either collapse under the weight of their own assumptions or be forced to rise to your level. Every accusation is a performance, a bid for control. When someone attacks you, they want a reaction, your attention, your emotion, your defense. But what happens when you don't give it to them? You flip the frame. You shift the spotlight back onto them. Suddenly, their aggression looks unstable. Their certainty begins to look insecure, and your calm becomes unsettling. This is the Machiavellian reversal. You do nothing, and yet everything changes. Because when you stay still, the crowd starts to see. The one yelling looks nervous. The one silent looks strong. The emotional one loses credibility, while you gain presence. You don't match their tone. You don't correct their story. You don't even acknowledge the insult. You let it fall flat, unreceived. And when the punch hits nothing, it hurts them more than it ever could have hurt you. They expected a fight. What they got was emptiness. And in that void, they start to unravel. You never need to expose them. Just let their noise echo back at them, while you remain unmoved. Silence isn't just absence, it's precision. It's a blade, and when used strategically, it cuts deeper than any words ever could. Most people talk to escape tension. The Machiavellian sits inside it, where others rush to explain, to apologize, to fill the space. He waits, because silence doesn't just deny the enemy a target. It forces them to look inward. When you go quiet, when you offer nothing, not a reaction, not a correction, not a clue, you create uncertainty. And uncertainty breeds fear. In that silence, the accuser begins to spiral. They wonder, did I go too far? Did I miss something? Are they planning something worse? And that's when you become dangerous. Because power, real power, doesn't chase. It doesn't justify. It lets the world come to it, drawn in by the mystery, held captive by the unknown. Strategic silence is not avoidance. It's control. It's knowing that words are cheap and presence is priceless. And when your presence is felt more in silence than others is in shouting, you've already won. Silence is powerful, but when you choose to speak, let every word strike with purpose. No defense, no emotion, just cold redirection that makes them question why they ever opened their mouth. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your actions. You only need one well-placed phrase, one disarming line that flips the pressure back onto them. Say it calmly. Say it once. Then stop. Examples? Strange how confidence unsettles people. I don't know you comfort. You seem more upset than I do. Your reaction says more than I need to. These aren't insults. They're triggers, subtle reversals that expose the emotional instability of your opponent without ever raising your tone. While they explain, you observe. While they unravel, you detach. You don't fight harder, you fight cleaner. Because the goal isn't to win the moment. The goal is to remind them, you cannot be provoked. You cannot be dragged. And above all, you cannot be controlled. Words may be loud, but stillness is louder, especially when everyone is watching. This is emotional warfare. And in warfare, the one who stays calm while others unravel always wins. People instinctively trust stillness. They associate composure with control. So when someone attacks you and you don't react, they begin to look unstable. Their voice rises. Their body tenses. The crowd shifts. The power flips. It's not about silence for silence's sake. It's about leverage. The Machiavellian doesn't waste emotion. He weaponizes restraint. Because every second you don't respond, the aggressor begins to confront something far more threatening than anger, your indifference. And that indifference, that quiet refusal to engage, becomes a mirror they can't bear to look into, because it reflects back everything they don't want to see: insecurity, desperation, weakness. You didn't need to humiliate them. They did it themselves. All you did was let them. This is how power moves in silence, not with force, but with gravity. It draws the room toward you, while the loudest person fades into noise. When silence isn't enough, disappear. No explanation, no warning, no closure, just absence. This is the nuclear option, and it's only used by those who understand the true nature of power. The one who walks away controls the narrative. You see, Most people fear abandonment more than confrontation. They want the drama. They want the reaction. They want the argument that proves they still matter. But when you vanish, calmly, completely, they're left holding their own chaos. No one is afraid of being told off. They're afraid of being ignored. Because silence after presence is louder than any insult could ever be. This is where Machiavelli's cold brilliance shines. When all strategies fail, take your presence with you. Not in rage, not in revenge, but in ruthless clarity that you are no longer accessible to their dysfunction. And in your absence, they begin to rot. They search for your reaction and find only echo. They scream into a void and feel only the weight of their own reflection. And in that void, they begin to understand you were the power all along. There comes a moment when you stop defending and start radiating. Not arrogance, not ego, but presence. A presence that doesn't ask for respect, it commands it. This is the shift from defending your name to becoming a name that doesn't need defending, from reacting to attacks to being the presence that silences them without effort. You become untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're no longer available for nonsense. The people who once questioned you begin to hesitate. The ones who tried to provoke you begin to mirror you. And the ones who still talk? They look smaller now. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped needing to. What once made you anxious, judgment, gossip, confrontation, now rolls past you like wind. Because when you've built an aura, the battlefield moves. You're no longer the target. You're the standard. And most people fear standards they can't reach. Machiavelli wasn't teaching manipulation. He was teaching self-sovereignty. To stop explaining yourself and start becoming someone they have to explain to themselves. In the end, the most powerful move is no move at all. You don't win by explaining. You win by refusing to lower yourself to games you've already outgrown. Because those who understand power don't argue. They shape perception. They don't react. They decide. And they don't defend. They disappear, leaving behind only silence and influence. So the next time they accuse, provoke, try to pull you back into the chaos, don't flinch. Don't chase closure. Don't defend the person they think you are. Just let them talk. Let them spin their story and rise anyway. That's the final game. To become the version of yourself that doesn't need to be understood, because your presence speaks louder than any defense ever could. And if you're ready to stop defending and start commanding, this is where it begins. Comment below. I move in silence. Like, subscribe, and watch the next chapter in the art of power. Because while others explain their worth, you're going to embody it.